Thank you for joining our workshop today on managing personal documents and records. My name is Carol Cookson, and I have developed this easy 5-step system several years ago. I use it for myself, and I've taught a lot of seniors and people with disabilities to use it as well. I hope you find this interesting and useful, and we will get going now. There are several reasons to keep your personal records organized, and there's probably more than I have listed here, but you can help with billing errors. So if you paid a bill and it was posted for the wrong amount, or it was double posted, or it didn't get paid, you need documentation to support your claim that there's an error, and it makes it a lot easier to resolve the problem. Also, you've got a record of bills paid. A lot of people will pay their electric bill and toss the statement off, but it's really a good idea to hang on to those for at least a month or two. And that way, when you get your new one, you can check and make sure and compare and see if there's a problem. It makes it easier to fix. Also, tax filings. Everybody loves tax time. If you do a good job of keeping your personal records organized, it certainly makes your tax filing preparation a lot easier. Some people file their own taxes, as I do. Others people need to collect those records and take them to a tax preparer. Receipts for return of purchases. I don't know how many times. I can't count the number of times I've returned items that I've purchased. Either they didn't fit or it wasn't what I thought it was. And it's really hard to return something if you don't have the receipt. So if you have an organized record keeping system, you can easily find those receipts and use them for a return. Warranty claims. A lot of products that have warranties have very specific steps that you have to take in order to file a claim. You'll need the receipt that you used to make the purchase. You'll need to have a copy of the warranty. You need to cut out the cardboard piece on the end of the box. It can be a whole lot of different things. But if you have a warranty item that you think you might have a claim in the future, you want to keep that information accessible and findable so you can process that claim. Fraud claims. I used to work at a bank and I managed the fraud investigation unit for a couple of years. And all the time, people were wanting to make claims that there was some fraud on their account, but they didn't have the supportive documentation we needed to help them and help resolve that. It was very challenging. So that's another good reason to keep your records organized. Merchant and vendor disputes. Let's say you bought something, you brought it home, it didn't work. If you purchased that using your credit card, you have a little additional dispute, a little more ammunition to defend a dispute. Maybe you order something online and you just didn't get it. You've got to have access to all that documentation in order to process a claim. Budgeting. I know that's not the favorite topic for a lot of people, but I budget and I taught people to budget. And you have to have some documents to help you with that. You need to know what your spending normally is and what is extra money and what you have to save money for. So these are all good reasons, and I'm sure there's a lot more that will make good reasons to keep your organize your personal records. So to get started, there are 3 types of documents we need to consider. One are short-term records that don't need protection, long-term records that do need protection, and long-term records that don't need protection. So here's the 5-step process that I shared, and they're pretty easy. The first step is to separate your long-term from your short-term documents. Second step is to separate long-term documents into 2 groups, documents that need protection and those that don't. Third step, establish an organized storage system for all 3 types of documents. 4, purge those short-term documents monthly. And 5, purge long-term documents annually or after you file the taxes. Document storage options. There's many options. It can cost as little as nothing. all the way up to hundreds of dollars, depending on what your preferences are. Protected storage needs to be fire and theft proof, and unprotected storage doesn't need to be. So here's some examples of unprotected storage options. So it could just be your desk, a drawer in your desk. It could be a banker's box with files inside. Could be a metal file cabinet or a wooden file cabinet. Could just be a milk crate carton, because you can hang storage files in those as well, and they stack very nicely. Or it could just be a small, oftentimes they're plastic now, little storage file boxes. Protected storage needs to protect your documents from theft and fire. And there's some options for that. One of the safest options is a safe deposit box. You can rent those from most banks, usually not a credit union, but a bank will rent you one. If you are a customer of the bank, you usually get a good discount. They're not very expensive, and a small one like you see here in the picture is usually big enough to handle the paper that needs to be protected long term, and you know, like your birth certificates and your passport and marriage license, the kind of things that you don't normally need to access routinely or very often. So a safe deposit box at a bank is a good system. There's file cabinets, as you see in this picture, the 4-drawer file cabinet. That is a lockable and fireproof file cabinet. They are very, very heavy. And so they are protected by fire, but they're also protected from theft because they're so darn heavy. A thief isn't going to take the time to bring in hand truck and some help to move that puppy from one place to the other. I have a 2-drawer fireproof file cabinet that also has a combination lock on it, and it is very heavy. One person cannot move it at all, and it's a real struggle for two. So, you know, the file cabinets come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. There's also the possibility of having a safe with a combination lock or some other form of locking it that you keep on your premises. You have to be careful, though, that it's not something somebody can carry out, because that doesn't make it theft proof. And if somebody comes into your house and they see that lock safe, they're not going to try to unlock it to get at whatever's inside. They're going to pick it up and carry it off, and they'll open it up with a sledgehammer or whatever else they need to do. So some of these small home safes can be permanently bolted to the floor or otherwise installed where they're not removable, so that could be an option. The one with the X across it, that is a fireproof box that locks that a lot of people buy, and you see them at Target or Fred Meyer or Walmart. They're pretty easy to come by, but they may be fireproof, but they're certainly not theft proof. It's just so easy for somebody to pick it up and take it with them. Well, you know, people coming into your home to break into your home, and I've had mine broken into a few times over the years. They take items of value. They're not looking for paperwork. So if they find a locked cabinet like that or a locked box, they're going to make the assumption there's something valuable inside that they might like to have. So they'll pick it up and take it, even if there's nothing in it but paperwork that doesn't do them any good whatsoever. You're going to need some organizing supplies. I love hanging file folders. They just make your life so much easier. So whatever storage system you use, make sure you can put hanging files in them. And those also need some manila file folders. Those are very inexpensive. You need a stapler, and you need some sort trays or boxes or something to sort your documents into so that you have them organized when you're ready to file them. Sorting your mail. This is kind of the beginning of where the paper comes into your house. Usually it comes in the form of the mail. You want to limit the number of times you handle documents. There's no reason to put it in a pile and come back and pick it up and look at it again and set it down, and just take care of it right from the very beginning. So when you open and sort your mail, do it daily is recommended, or at least weekly. I do mine daily. The mail comes in, I open them up, I toss what I don't need, and I file what I do need. You need to open each piece and place the contents in one of 4 files or a letter tray. And so I have a pile for bills to be paid. Don't put it off. Do it right now. You set it aside. It's likely to forget, and you have to take the extra time to think through the process again and get ready to pay bills. If it's trash, it goes straight into the trash can. If it's items that need follow up, and you can put it in a pile that needs follow up or needs some resolution to them. And then you have items that are ready to file. Don't put it off. File them right now. And if you do this every day or at least every week, it's not going to take you more than a few seconds to do. And if you put them off instead of make a huge pile, then it becomes overwhelming and a bigger challenge and less likely to get done. So some helpful hints. Staple your documents that have multiple pages together. Because if you just take a 3-page document and set it in a pile, it's very likely to get missorted, and you have to, at some point, find all the pieces and put them back together again. Unfold documents. So documents that come in a letter are usually fold over 3 times. Open them up so they're easy to see and read, and get rid of that envelope. There's no point in folding it back up and sticking it back in the envelope, because then you're starting from square one again when it gets time to actually doing something with it. So open it up, staple those loose pages together, and put in the pile that either for follow-up or filing or paying bills or whatever it is. Items with personal information should be shredded before putting them in the trash. So personal information, I consider that to be account numbers, bank account information, social security numbers. I don't consider my name and address on a document to be personal information, because that information is available in a lot of different places. It's not protected. You can go online and you can get that information. You can go to somebody's mailbox and get that information. So I don't consider that worth shredding, taking the time to shred or dealing with. Now my mother, she does. Every time she gets a piece of mail that has her name and address on it, she cuts it out and destroys it, and then she puts the rest of it into the recycling. I think that's a little over the top, but that's what she does. If you have receipts from in your sorting, you make purchases and you have receipts. And so if you have a receipt that's related to a warranty for a product, you want to attach that receipt right to the warranty card, and even put the warranty card inside the manual if there is one. And so that you've got everything all together if you need to make a warranty claim on the product. Place any tax-related receipts in your current year tax folder. So you should have a file set up for current year tax stuff. Excuse me. So when you get that, you want to go ahead and put it in that file right away, so you don't have to figure out where you put it. So you don't have to figure out where you put it and find it, and just get it done right away. Putting things aside and doing it later is not a good habit to get into. Short-term documents. Short-term documents include bank statements, credit card statements, bills, and receipts. Short-term documents, filing, and purging. So my recommendation is to take 12 manila file folders and make one for each month, January through December, and place those short-term documents in that file or in whatever storage container you have, be it a desk drawer or a file box. After purchases are made and bills are paid, place receipts and bills in the folder for that month. So I have a file drawer that has 12 manila file folders in it and hanging file drawers, and each one is labeled for the month. And so any purchases that I've made, any bills that I've paid, they go into that file folder. Also, what goes into that file folder is the bank statement or the credit card statement for that same month. So what you should have then in the file folder are the bank statement and the receipts for everything that's on that bank statement. That way it makes it really easy for you to find receipts that you're looking for, or find your bank statements you're looking for. Usually you don't need them after you get the next month. So one bank statement, you reconciled it, everything's okay, you can put it away. When you get the next one for the next month, the prior one is of no use anymore. So you start a new file folder and you put your current month information in them. When all 12 file folders have been filled, you're going to purge the documents in the oldest folder. So let's see, today is December. I'm currently putting my December statements and receipts in a file folder for December. Next month, I'll be pulling out my January one that I did last January, and it's going to be full of all that stuff. Remember, these are short-term documents, so you can take everything out of that January file folder and recycle it or shred it or whatever you need to do to it, and then you reuse that file folder. So truly all you need to manage this short-term document filing is 12 manila file folders in some way that you can easily access them in hanging file folders or another filing system. That way, the most you have on hand is going to be 12 months of stuff, and that's pretty easily managed in a single file drawer. Long-term documents that do not need protection, that would include insurance policies, auto, medical, life, home, renters, all of that stuff. And I have a file folder for each of those topics, one for auto insurance, one for medical insurance, one for life insurance. And when I get a new policy or a renewed policy, I'll pull out the old one, trash it, and then I'll put the new one in. So you always have your current stuff. You don't have to go, if you save everything, you're going to be digging through it to find what's current and what's old. So just get rid of it. There's no reason to keep it. I kind of like to look and see what they charged me last year versus what they're charging me this year and see how much a difference it is. For some reason, it's always more than it was last year. Employment and education information. This you can keep till you're no longer working, or if you just want to hang on to it for fun. I don't. I retired. I got rid of all that stuff because I'm not applying for jobs anymore, and I don't need all of that. Account and service agreements. You keep them until the accounts are closed and the service is ended. So that might be your cell phone contract or your Xfinity contract or your whatever other kind of contracts you might have, maybe a bank account agreement. And so you keep those in a file folder. Again, I have one file folder called cell phone and one file folder called banking and for finances, and one file folder for a garbage service. Not, whatever you assign that indicates what you're getting for your money. You want to keep that so that you can have easy access to it, and then toss it when you end that service or you have it renewed and you've got a new contract. Owner's manuals and warranties. Keep until you no longer own the item. So I have a file folder for each of my vehicles. And in that is my owner's manual. Well, actually, those are in the car. But let's say I have a washer and dryer. I'll put my owner's manual in that file folder along with inside is stapled the receipt and the warranty information. So if something happens, I know where to find it. If I need to refer to the owner's manual, I know where it is. And then when I get rid of my washer and dryer, I'll get rid of that information and I'll put the new ones in its place. Pet records, there's a good file folder for that. You would want to put anything related to your pets when you had your checkups, vaccinations, and flea treatments, and whatever. That's a good place to put that. And I keep those records until the pet has gone, and then I'll replace it with whatever new pet I happen to have. Vehicle auto maintenance records. Keep as long as you own the vehicle. And this is really helpful when you sell your vehicle, the new owner, because I usually sell my vehicles at private party. I like to give them the maintenance record so they know what's been done and when. And I always appreciate getting that one when I purchase a secondhand vehicle. So that's not, they don't need protection, but it's something you certainly want to keep. And I've got a file folder for each vehicle. Titled vehicle sales records. So when I sell a vehicle, I always keep the documents for that because the new owner is supposed to register it in their name. I have had it happen where the new owner didn't register it in their name and they got a ticket. Well, the ticket was sent to me because I was the owner on record. And by having that information about who actually bought it and when and the bill of sale and all of that, I could demonstrate that I wasn't the one who needs to pay the ticket. So that's, you should also, whenever you sell a vehicle, there's a form you fill out to send the DMV that indicates you sold it and to whom. So you want to make sure that you've got the information about who you sold it to. Income tax records. Kind of the rule of thumb for years has been you save 7 years. That I think that's been changed a bit to 3 sometimes. I like to keep 7 years. That's just my personal preference. Just my just in case system. And so I keep a file folder for each year for my tax records. So all the documents that you use to prepare your taxes and the actual tax forms themselves, the filing forms, I keep all those in one place. One place, one file folder for each year. Now, as a new year comes in, and when I do my taxes this year, I'm going to pull out the file folder that's 7 years old, and I'm going to get rid of that so that my storage stays the same. I've only got 7 years, and I don't accumulate any more than that. Medical records. We have 4 people in my household, and any medical records that come in, be it the insurance forms or the doctor's reports or whatever it is, even prescription purchases I keep. I have a separate file for each person in our household, and I just toss that in that file. And at the end of the year when I'm doing my taxes, medical expenses are oftentimes tax deductible. So I've got them all right there. And I just, out of convenience, I take that medical record file that I've kept for the year and I add it to my tax records for that same year. So if I do take a deduction for medical expenses, it then becomes part of my tax records and it's there. Long-term documents that need protection. These are things that you want to protect from getting into anybody else's hands. And that would be like your Social Security card, your passport, checkbooks that you're not currently using. You should have one book of checks that you're using when I seldom write a check anymore, but I do have one book of checks that I keep hidden away. I don't carry it in my purse even because I usually use my credit card when I make purchases. But I keep one book of checks hidden away in my office near my desk so that if I need to write a check, it's handy. But all the extra checkbooks should be locked up under a protected storage system. Because, when I was a banker and I was working with fraud, that was the biggest fraud occurrence. People would get their checks stolen and somebody else would write them and forge your signature, and it would just create all kinds of havoc. So you really do want to protect those extra book of checks, plus you'll know where to find them when you need a new book. Along with that, credit cards that you're not currently using. I keep in my wallet one credit card and a debit card. And any other credit cards I have, I put in my safe because those again are very easy. If your purse gets stolen, your wallet gets stolen, you have to remember what cards did I have in there because you need to report it to your financial institution. But they're really easy for bad guys to use. And so you want to protect them. Don't leave them in your office or laying around because if somebody does break into your house and they see a credit card, they're going to take it for sure because they know they can use it right away. Titles for vehicles. So automotive, RV, boat, motorcycle, etc. Anything that has a title that you need to transfer ownership of. You want to keep that in a protected storage facility, whatever that is. Those, in most cases, they can be replaced, but it's expensive to do and it's a real hassle to do. And so when you get time, when you're ready to sell something, you want to have that title available, easily accessible. Long-term documents. So these that need protection, and that would include your legal documents. So Under legal documents, I would include wills, advance directives, power of attorney, trust agreements, marriage or divorce certificates or legal documents, adoption records, property deeds, birth certificates, and death certificates. And there's probably some more, but those are the main ones. Those things last until you die, pretty much. But you need to keep them stored and they need protection. That's something that you don't want to be taken away from you by a thief or by fire. So that's it. That didn't take very long. Again, my name is Carol Cookson. I am a volunteer and a member of Rivers East Village. This presentation was done in December of 2020, and there's a little bit about me. For 16 years, I was a program manager of the Oregon Money Management Program. I trained volunteers and helped seniors manage their personal financial lives. From 1979 to 1988, I was a bank officer, and that's where I did a lot of different things at the bank, many different positions, and that's where I had my experience working with consumer fraud. And if you have questions about this training, you're free to ask them via email and send it to our Rivers East Village email account, and I will get that and be happy to respond. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I hope you found this interesting and valuable.